Hi, beauty. Okay, I want to talk to you about concealer application and all the things, the do's, the don'ts, how to choose the color, everything. So right now I just have, my due date oil, my SPF on, and my brows filled in, okay? I didn't put anything on the face so that I can walk you through this. So first things first, we do have, if you are more fair to medium skin, which I'm going to be using these since that's my complexion today, and then I can always personally help and speak to you if you have a deeper skin tone. But today I'm just going to walk you through 0, 1, concealer number 2 and 3, okay? So how would you know to choose which ones do you choose, right? So first things first, I want to just kind of swatch these so you can see them. So 0 is very light and has almost like a white undertone to it, which is amazing for, super fair skin, but most predominantly this is used as a brightener in the skin. So I can show you how to highlight, how to open the eyes more, how to actually reduce the appearance of wrinkles, doing little techniques with this, just overall brightness, okay? Concealer number 1, you can see has a lot of green to it. It's really good for color correcting redness. So this isn't something that is going to be really commonly used, but if you have rosacea, if you have redness, you can apply this on the skin. There's also 2 and 3. 2 you're going to see is more fair than 3. 3 has more of a peachy undertone, which is going to be amazing for so you'll see the difference between those two. So number 3 is really good for color correcting blue, which we commonly see with like dark circles under the eyes, okay? So these are all, these concealers are amazing. I've used them for years and years, you guys. The original maker of them is by Krylon, which really famous makeup artist Kevin Aquan. That's how I learned my artistry technique, through a lot of his books. He used all of these concealers, so I get so excited because it's a camouflage makeup. But I tell you this because it's very, very concentrated. This is predominantly best used for color correction and coverage, okay? So if you have some fine lines, deep lines under the eye area already, this can settle in them, and so I do not recommend putting this all the way underneath your eye area. Recommend it for most other spaces on the face, right? But you want to use a really light application, and I'm going to show you what kind of tools you can use for that. I would say most predominantly I use a brush shaped like this. That's kind of a synthetic concealer brush because it'll place it really well. But if you have a fuller coverage, like you're covering rosacea, you might want to use like a classic foundation brush. You can use your fingertips very lightly to press in and brighten, and you can also use a blenderful sponge, okay? So what I want to show you today is how to, and how do you know, do I do concealer under or over my foundation? That's a really great question. It really just depends on the ultimate outcome. There are times that I use this because it's waterproof, and again, this can cover tattoos. It's really great for coverage, but there are times when I just lightly use this and I don't even use a foundation, especially in the summer months, right? But traditionally, your foundation should cover most of what you don't want to see on the skin, and then I go in after with the concealer to continue covering. Now, if you have redness, a lot of redness, I would recommend using this one, that number 1, first to color correct, and then going in with foundation. If you have melasma, where you have like a really dark brown spot, I actually recommend using our orange centerfold eyeshadow and then the concealer number 3 to camouflage, and then go in with your foundation. Other than that, I typically like to apply foundation first and this after. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do that right now really quick with you. I'm just gonna apply a little bit of my foundation using this buffer brush because it's all I have available in front of me out of all my brushes. But I'm just applying this, and then I can go in and get additional coverage. I love using our concealer for brightening the eyelids and using it almost as like a primer for the lid because the shadows will adhere to it really nicely. I like to use it to brighten as a highlighter, cover kind of the redness in here. If I have a blemish, I'll go on top. So I'm going to show you now how to do that, okay? So first things first, I like to color correct this under eye area here. I don't have a ton of wrinkles under here, thankfully, for using eye serum, eye cream. I'm a huge advocate of that, but I would suggest using concealer number 3 if you have darkness, or concealer 2. And you just go on this inner part here and then blend in with your fingertips, and you'll see immediately how much that brightens. Now I'm not doing it all the way underneath, just in that little crook of the eye right there, where it gets most dark. And I can bring that up into here, okay? What you don't want to do is throw on, and I used to do this until I got more dark circles. You actually don't want to use a really white light color all the way under here, because it's not going to color correct it. It's going to actually make your dark circles look more gray, if that makes sense. So try not to do that, okay? Then I can take this color, concealer number 3, I can put in here and blend because it's really similar to my skin tone. If I wanted to be a little brighter, I'm going to flip this brush. I can take concealer number 2. It's going to be a little bit more brightening on me. Either one really works. If I don't have a foundation on at all, I actually tend to use concealer number 2 on the skin for like covering color correcting blemishes and things like that, okay? So I can go in here, cover up where there's darkness, okay? This has been really bugging me up here. I know I need to get it removed, the derm, but for now, let's just cover that, right? Okay, so I can take concealer number 2, which is more my flesh tone shade here, and blend this in with my fingers. And I like to put this as a base, as I mentioned, okay? Covers up all those like little veins. This is just such a fabulous product, and I love that our complexion palette has a full-size foundation with the 2 concealers also, okay? Now, the only other thing I would suggest is if you really want a brightener, you can take and frame the brow. I'm going to show you all the placement of this first before I blend it in. So you can take in here, that lighter, whiter, brighter, okay? I can take a really thin, fine brush, like an angle brush, and just go really finely into where my fine lines are, because anywhere that you put this really white light concealer, it's a brightener, so it's gonna make it accentuate and stand out. I also have like a divot here in my nose, so it kind of is like a shadow. So for me, I like to take this brightener just to even it out a little bit, and I place it here to make it create more accentuation. So anywhere that you put something that's really light and white and bright like that, it's going to make it come out forward. Anywhere that you're using something deeper and darker, which some people do with concealer, you know, a bronzer, things like that, that's going to make it retract, and that's how you get that contour shape, okay? So again, I just went ahead and now I can take and just softly blend this underneath, and you'll start to see the difference in that brightness, okay? So I'm just blending this. And I typically actually also take a contour on this side as well to really even out the nose area right there, okay? Brighten, frame the brow, gives your eyes a nice lift. If you have a lid that kind of tends to droop on top a little bit, you will love using this concealer number 0 that has that white in it to really brighten up. And then this one, I love putting this actually in my direct wrinkle in between here because it makes it come forward and it makes it look more flush with the rest of the skin. So there are times that I've literally just gone in and kind of like painted this into those fine lines, believe it or not. Now under the eyes, you don't really want to accentuate it because it kind of settles, but when you have this in the forehead, as long as you have like a good, you know, skincare routine and serum, I think it tends to even out the complexion and look really fabulous. So that is it. I hope this answered your concealer placement questions. And just remember, everybody's face shape is different. So if you have questions specific to your face of where you can use these to benefit you, just reach out.